So let's talk some upcoming video plans, some Auspex Tactics terrain merchandise, and the big custom army channel giveaway for December. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today it's time for the monthly channel update video, talking a few things from the previous month, stuff coming up for this one, and a few announcements. Starting off with video plans, it turned out that October was really quite a busy one on the channel. Compared with some of the previous ones, it's been a fairly big views month. I guess Warhammer 40k has been very much in its Space Marine 2 hype phase for a little bit. Plus Games Workshop did have some interesting news and reveals. There was the big balanced data slate and all the points changes and things that came with that. Their reveal show where they showed off the Christmas battle forces, some kill teams, and the Emperor's Children teaser, plus a bunch of expected releases that came out, things like the Blood Angels mainline release after their launch box, plus the Kill Team starter sets, and 40k character releases. There's definitely been some interesting stuff to talk about, though maybe not quite as much in terms of actual mainline codex or new miniature reveals, and that did mean that there was a fair bit of time for some other bigger projects. One of the biggest effort videos I managed to get round to was a how to field every Space Marine unit video, which certainly took a long time, given the amount of units and data sheets that they have. There's been lots of interesting stuff to talk about post-update, including looking at the new strong list that people seem to be winning tournaments with, and a couple of the other bigger projects was a refresh of which army to choose in 40k, talking through the factions with their 10th edition rules and everything that's changed for them over the last year or so. And I did one which was a rating every miniature of 2024, asking you guys to vote on which ones you liked best, where it seemed there was a lot of love for the Dark Angels near the top spots, and the Sanguinary Guard and Kotias being left out in the cold. It seems like we've got a few things on the horizon for this coming month. Games Workshop confirmed that there will be a reveal show in the later half of the month, likely focusing on the Deathclaw Krieg announcement given their codex timeline. I'm sure there'll be some other interesting stuff for different systems though. We'll actually get the full release of the Christmas Battle Force box sets, which likely isn't too far away now. I guess it's possible that they announce that either this Sunday or the next one. I feel like it's going to be interesting to keep on looking at the tournament stats and seeing which armies seem to be turning up on top. I think really we need a few more weeks of data for things to settle down a little bit, but I always found that interesting after they've shifted around the balance, particularly with updates like this one which very squarely nerfed some of the best things in the game. Otherwise, for smaller video ideas, I'll hopefully be looking at some Blood Angels army lists, maybe some start collecting videos. If I get a chance to, then talking White Scars and Word Bearers will be fun, as well as all the usual stuff on the channel, rounding up minor news and unit reviews and things. As ever, if you have any fun suggestions for videos, feel free to leave them down in the comments. Moving on to giveaways next, and the November giveaway was for 8 people to win one copy of each of their favourite Christmas battle forces, picking the one that they'd like out of the 5 on offer. I can now announce that the winners of those were Isaac St. Tours, Maxime Lapierre, Ben Justice, JF, Charles Thoss, Elbot, Kevin Ferrens, and Jacob Mayer. I've just sent you messages asking for which one you'd like and a delivery address. I see a few of you have already responded. If you let me know which ones you like, and I'll order them in when Games Workshop puts them up for pre-order, which hopefully should be kind of soon. For the December one though, and to round out the year, I thought we could go for an extra big one. I feel like I often limit giveaways in a bit of an arbitrary way to set boxes or things with a certain theme. For the December one though, I thought I'd keep it nice and simple. Basically build your own custom army from Games Workshop. The total price of the kits when added together being £300 or less or $500 or less, and within that you can choose literally any units that Games Workshop sells, so it should be a good way to get an army somewhere between 1,000 or 2,000 points on the table, depending on the faction. Just for a couple of examples of that, here's what you could do with Tyranids, squeaking in at just under the $500. We've got a set of the 40k starter set, a Tyrannocide, Hive Tyrant and Exocrine for a Firebase, a Sneaky Death Leaper to infiltrate forwards, and the Horrors of the Hive with a Neuro Tyrant and Screamer Killer. I guess I have gone at least somewhat close to the Leviathan box with this one. You'd also have some leftover Space Marines in this example. Otherwise, here's one option for the Death Guard. I went with their Combat Patrol to get a nice zombie horde, Typhus and a bunch of Plague Marines, a Feated Bloat Drone and a Plague Burst Crawler, 2 sets of the all very scary Death Shroud Terminators with their great big scythes, and a Chaos Rhino to cart those Plague Marines about. You could go for something like that or completely different for your own faction, either reinforcements or starting an entirely new force. Hopefully that should be pretty directly useful to people. And as ever with the channel giveaways, there's 2 equal ways to enter, both of them linked down in the video description, either supporting the channel on Patreon for any amount, the main thing that allows me to create videos just about every day, and also has a few other benefits too, and that gets you automatic entry each and every month. Otherwise, as an alternative option, you can support via social media and boost the algorithms, and that's completely free. To do that, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page, and then to actually enter the draw, a Facebook giveaway post appears on the 1st of December. Respond to that with a photo of any 40k mini or imagery, along with your name and the date handwritten within the same photo. Then after that, the draw is done with a random number generator and is announced on the channel update video on YouTube around the 4th of December. I'll then get in touch with the 4 winners, ask them exactly what models they like, order them in from Games Workshop or independent retailers, and post them all out once the orders come in. Feel free to check out the Facebook page or the Patreon page linked in the video description. There'll be further similar giveaways to this each and every month. Finally, while on the subject of giveaways, I often wind up posting out a fair bunch of models, but every so often I do hear back from people too. One of the Knight Household giveaways in days past was won by Pedro Esquia Rosa, who got back to me to show off what he's done with the Knights, his own custom household in House Axis Mundi, a household of Imperial religious zealots, with the motto "Guide the Impure to Eternal Death." I really like the two-tone colour scheme, reminds me of Howling Griffins just a little bit perhaps, and there's a good use of a whole bunch of fun 3D printed bits, some soaring cherubs, and various servitors marching alongside on the bases. In any case, a big thank you for sharing those, it was cool to see. Besides giveaways, I just wanted to make a small merch announcement as well. Over the past month or so, I've done a few sponsored videos for Whaler New Tiny Terrain. These are basically the guys that make the competitive style terrain for the World Team Championship, pretty much the biggest and most well-known team tournament around in the world, and it certainly gets a lot of hype. Their terrain's manufactured in Europe, and it's basically made of flat sheets of plastic, all pre-coloured and made on demand, and the goal is generally good competitive functional 40k terrain, maybe sacrificing it in a little bit in terms of style and detailing for just working really well in terms of blocking line of sight, being sturdy to put models around, and just making a nice functional battlefield so you can focus on the actual battle unfolding with your miniatures. In any case, they offered to basically do a merch offering for their style terrain, which is currently live on their store. They made a few different offerings, each of which will be printed with the channel logo on it. Their current ones at the moment are this WTC terrain pack, where you get 6 big ruins, 8 small ones, and a few armoured containers, plus baseboards for terrain footprints. And when you order them, you basically get to choose which sort of colouring you want on them. There's a fair few more plain ones, and I've got some fancy designs such as medieval castles, overgrown ruins or Arctic laboratories, and also with the channel logo on. They've also got the Pariah Nexus terrain pack, which is a little bit on the different side. This one's a little bit cheaper. 6 big ruins, 2 medium ones, and a couple of sort of girder forest type things. And they also have an offering of game mats as well. Nice durable places to play on. These ones are €64, so roughly £55 or $72 plus shipping. 60 inches by 44 inches. And interestingly enough, as a fun feature, they've got a subtle layering for the Pariah Nexus deployment zones. You can just make them out really quite faintly in this picture, but it does mean that you've got all the things pre-laid out on the board, so you just need to know which lines you are using and then go from there. There's a few different options for the game mat as well, and they come with the channel logo in the centre. In any case, a big thank you to them for doing that. It's not really any different from their other already really quite good terrain, but just with a channel logo on it, but I guess it could be of interest to a few of you who might want that. In any case, their link's down in the video description. The terrain does have some pros and cons. As mentioned, very functional. Supports the current WTC layouts, which is quite nice, fairly sturdy with the plastic, and comes pre-coloured, so it's very minimal hobby work to get it on the table compared with some, and of course it's far cheaper than Games Workshop terrain if you compared it with ruins from them versus this. Perhaps the main trade-off is a bit of narrative feel for the terrain with the actual textured surfaces, and they do have those white edges that give it its distinctive type look. I feel like maybe you could go with a bit of a hybrid approach, have a few prettier and less functional bits mixed in with some functional ruins for blocking line of sight and things. In any case, thanks to them for that. I'll leave them links down in the video description, and there's a code Auspex for 5% off any of their range in general as well. A small amount of any purchases do go to help support the channel if you were happening to be in the market for some terrain anyway. Finally, I'll just quickly mention the channel's Iron Enforcer army miniatures. The ones for November have now rolled over, so we've got the second half of the Bomb Collar Convict Squad, all very ready and willing, of course, to sacrifice themselves on the front line as part of Penal Legion justice. And then the primary offering this month is the big exo-suited Guerrilla Mechs. Potentially could be stand-ins for Ogrins or Light Walkers or something like that, as they're laying down some justice on the streets. These ones are armed with some big and high caliber machine guns with great big bullet feeds attached in. In any case, I'll aim to make the proper Iron Enforcers video sometime later in the week. I got a little bit behind with video production, which has delayed that a little, but the designs are already live on Thangs. If you wanted to pick these up at all, then it's via the Thangs subscription model, which is basically a Patreon but for 3D printing things. The Iron Enforcers miniatures are on that. Typically it's $10 per month, though with the code ATL30 the first 3 months are $7. So basically this month's STL design offerings are $7 for 5 Bond collar guides and 5 mech suits. I aim to try and get the video out for them sometime within the next few days though. In any case, I think that rounds it up in terms of announcements and news for the channel. As always, let me know any thoughts, suggestions or ideas down in the comments. Look forward to hearing from you guys as always, and feel free to check out either the merch terrain, Patreon or Facebooks down in the video description for all the things mentioned. In any case, I'll be back for a more regularly scheduled video in the not too distant future. So as always, an absolutely massive thank you for watching, liking, subscribing and all the support. It's always an honour to be able to make 40k videos as my mainline job, and that wouldn't be possible without you. A massive thank you to all of you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.